Andre, and me, Lauren. We were best friends, inseparable since freshman year, and eager for one last adventure before real life dragged us into different corners of the world. We had heard about the house from a gas station attendant on the outskirts of a forgotten town in Pennsylvania. "Don't go near the Ridley house," he warned, lowering his voice. "That place, it's not just haunted, it remembers you." We laughed it off. We were city kids, skeptical, cynical, and thirsty for anything off the beaten path. A haunted house deep in the woods? Perfect for an overnight dare. Melissa, who always had her camera ready, insisted we film the entire thing for her YouTube channel. "Ghost content is viral right now," she said, grinning. Arrival. The house stood in silence atop a hill, choked by brambles and dead trees. The driveway was cracked and overtaken by moss. The windows were mostly boarded up, but the main door hung slightly ajar, as if it had been expecting us. It was a monstrous structure, Victorian in design with tall, gabled roofs, a wraparound porch sagging under decades of neglect, and vines that clung like veins to its faded wood. The air smelled like wet soil and rotting wood. Even the birds seemed to avoid the area. We entered at dusk. Inside, the air was thick and stale. Cobwebs veiled the chandeliers. Furniture draped in white cloth lined the parlor, and the wallpaper peeled off in long curling strips. A dusty piano sat against the wall, one key broken off. As we explored, Melissa filmed everything, whispering commentary into her mic while Jake made jokes to cut the tension. It wasn't long before we found the first oddity. In the upstairs hallway, all the mirrors were turned to face the wall. "I guess the ghost didn't like their reflection," Jake joked. Andre, ever the history buff, inspected one and muttered, "In old folklore, mirrors are portals, or traps." He looked at me. "Or warnings," I added, half joking. Melissa turned one mirror around despite our protests. Its surface was dusty, but underneath the grime, we could see our reflections. At least we thought we could. That night, we set up sleeping bags in the living room. The fireplace was dead, but the temperature kept dropping. We tried to stay warm, huddling and telling scary stories. Around midnight, Melissa noticed something strange with her camera. The footage she'd taken showed flickers, glitches. At times, shadowy figures would appear for a frame or two. Once, a pale face stared back from the mirror she'd filmed, even though no one had been near it. "Old houses mess with tech," Jake said, brushing it off. But the camera wasn't the only thing acting weird. Nightfall. It started with whispers, very faint, like wind through the cracks, but they formed words. Names. My name. I thought I was imagining it, until I saw Andre sit bolt upright in the dark, eyes wide, staring into the hallway. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. We all sat up. The house had gone utterly still. Then the piano played one broken note. We froze. No one had touched it. Jake grabbed a flashlight and aimed it at the parlor. No one was there. The key remained pressed down as if some invisible hand still lingered. Slowly, it rose back into place with a creak. That was when we decided to leave. We packed in a frenzy, blaming the cold, the weird vibes, the creepy piano. But when we tried the front door, it wouldn't open. No matter how hard we pulled, kicked, or rammed it, it didn't budge. Windows, nailed shut, back door, bricked from the inside. We were trapped. The descent. That night stretched on like a nightmare. The whispers returned, louder now. The temperature dropped below freezing, and our breath came out in clouds. Jake's phone turned on by itself and played a voicemail from his dead brother. Melissa was crying, clutching her camera like a talisman. Andre kept scribbling on the wall with charcoal from the fireplace, symbols we didn't understand. When I tried to stop him, he whispered, "They told me to." The house was changing. Hallways we'd walked through earlier didn't lead to the same rooms. The stairs sometimes turned into endless loops. I swear I saw someone else in the mirror. Someone who looked like me, but older, thinner, with black eyes. By morning, Andre was gone. We searched everywhere, but it was like he'd been erased. His sleeping bag still lay beside ours, still warm. His shoes were gone, though. No footprints, no signs of struggle. The whispers became screams. What it wanted. Melissa finally broke down. She admitted that she had found an old book in the attic before any of us arrived. It was bound in cracked leather, filled with strange writing and diagrams of human figures surrounded by runes. She hadn't told us because she thought it was just prop material for her video. "I opened it," she whispered. "I read some of it out loud for the intro clip." Jake punched the wall. "You brought this on us." "No," she screamed. "It was already here." That was when the house began to breathe. Yes, breathe. The walls expanded and contracted like lungs. We could hear the groaning timbers, the shifting of floorboards, as if the house was alive. And it was hungry. Jake didn't make it through the next night. The whispers got to him. He kept talking to someone we couldn't see, smiling like a child. Then, during the deepest part of the night, he walked up the stairs to the attic and never came back down. We heard the door slam shut and the lock click. We didn't dare follow. Escape. It was just Melissa and me now. We tried smashing a window with a chair, but it rebounded like we hit steel. Melissa showed me the footage from her camera again. Her voice shook. "Look, in the video, every time the camera panned over me, there was a second figure standing behind me, gray-skinned, tall, its mouth stitched shut. I never saw it in real life, but it had always been there, just behind me. 'We're not going to make it,' she whispered. I refused to give in. Desperation made me remember the book. If this thing had started with a ritual, maybe it could be ended with one. We found it again in the attic, lying open where she'd left it. Pages had turned on their own. We read through it, half guessing, half hoping. One passage mentioned reversal, an offering returned, a price undone. It required sacrifice. Melissa looked at me, pale and shaking. "I'll do it," she said. "No, you don't get it. The house wants someone. Maybe if I give it what it wants, you can leave." Before I could stop her, she stepped into the center of the circle drawn on the attic floor. She opened the book and read a passage aloud, her voice firm and steady, even as the walls shrieked. The moment she finished, a terrible wind blew through the attic. The lights exploded. Shadows erupted from the walls and wrapped around her like vines. She didn't scream. She just looked at me and smiled. Then she was gone. The door behind me creaked open, the front door. I ran. Aftermath, I stumbled down the hill, the house silent behind me. The air was warm again. Birds sang. The sun was rising. No one believed my story. No one ever does. The Ridley house still stands. Sometimes I dream of it, of mirrors turning on their own, of whispers calling my name. Sometimes I think I hear them even when I'm awake. The house let me go. But I don't think it's done with me. Not yet.